got here? When did you get your first camera?
First camera, around 10 years old. Kodak Hawkeye 44, $9.99. That's what I bought. That's what I bought, yeah.
Awesome. So, as some people here know, you were the photographer for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Did you ever get to photograph any of the greats?
I photographed many of the greats from the Hockey Hall of Fame perspective, like guys who are already inducted to current day photos. And I'm just having a quick look to see what the age group is, because I'll mention names and people will go like, oh my God, who the heck were those guys? Things that I remember, probably the time I got most nervous, the only time I've ever been nervous, really in the hockey, even for a Game 7 of a Stanley Cup final, was one day I was in an office and talking to a friend, and Bobby Orr walked in. Bobby Orr walked in, and I said, hey Bobby, how are you? And just give him a chair, sit down, and my friend, who had known him a little bit more, was saying things like, hey Bobby, we're doing some work and that kind of stuff. It went on for about 4 or 5 minutes, and I said, Bobby, I need to see your scar. Bobby has 2 bad scars on his knees. So he got up and he showed me a big, long scar. I remember that. That was, Orr was probably the only one who really, like, my heart was pounding for that. But I met like Johnny Bauer. I met Johnny Bauer at an induction when he had just had quadruple bypass surgery, and it just happened earlier that day. I'd been photographing his chest protector. He was a goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I noticed it was really thin and it was made of straw. There was straw in there, horsehair maybe. And I asked him, Johnny, what hurt more? Quintuple, whatever you say that word is, heart surgery or a Bobby Hull slap shot? It was the heart surgery.
Did you ever get to photograph Wayne Gretzky?
Wayne Gretzky. I photographed Wayne many, many times in games. I photographed him for All-Star games, so I had portraits to do of Wayne Gretzky, which was kind of fun. But the day with Wayne Gretzky that I'll remember the most was I got hired to photograph Wayne, a day in the life of Wayne Gretzky. And it was going to be a day-long thing. I think the league was on strike or lockout that year. That's why Gretzky was available. And they wouldn't let me photograph him in a television studio, so I had to wait for him to show up. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. I didn't think he would show up. So he eventually arrived at the Hockey Hall of Fame around 10 o'clock. And I guess I was supposed to do a happy snap with him and the CEO of the Royal Bank of Canada, who I wouldn't know from a hole in the ground. But he's a big guy, big, important guy. And I remember I had to do another shoot which involves setting the camera differently. So Gretzky shows up, the RBC CEO shows up, and it's just a picture. Shoot them all against the wall, just against the wall in the Hall of Fame. But my settings were all different, so I had to wait and fidget about. This is before digital. I had to do some changing. I had to change the camera and all that kind of. Gretzky was getting furious. He was just sitting there and he's talking to the guy and saying, geez, these photographers are slow. This guy's really slow. And he went on. He was needling me, which I found odd. And I was under pressure, and I was like feeling it. And he just needled me just a little bit too much. And I sort of under my breath said, Wayne, you can take the picture if you want. That was enough time for me to get that picture. I remember that, boy, oh boy. Like Wayne Gretzky, thanks. And anyway, so the day ends up, he's doing all of these activities, and Gretzky owns a bar in Toronto called Gretzky's. And a lot of the event was at the Gretzky bar. So there's a special back area. It's as big as this room, or half the size of this room. It's big, it's lofty. all these guys are in there. He's got to do all sorts of business. He's doing his business, and Gretzky walks into the restaurant. There are still fans in there, and the fans are going, "That's Wayne Gretzky's in Gretzky's. This is great." And Gretzky's being a really nice guy. He's saying hi, he's signing autographs. I don't know where the collectors come from, but they come. They're signing they get sticks and stuff like that. And then Gretzky retires into the room. He's had enough. He wants to relax. He comes out around 11:30, something like that, and pretty well kicks everybody out of this restaurant in a nice way. Hold it, get out of here. So I remember there was just a few people left. So Gretzky's people, the patrons had left. There were just like inner sanctum people, Gretzky's best friends, and some players and some corporate guys and stuff like that. And I remember saying, "You know what? Everyone's out. Let's go have a drink." So I thought, well, I'm here. You haven't kicked me out. So, but everyone stayed in this back room. I said, I've had enough. I've been working out. It's like after midnight. I'm tired. Following Gretzky is ridiculous. He moves fast. There's lots of people. It's intense. And then I remember going to the bar, sitting down at the bar, and a lot of people, and Gretzky walked by and said, "What do you have?" So I ended up going, I have a whole day with Gretzky, and at the end of the night, Wayne Gretzky served me a drink in his bar.
Alright, so now I want to talk about a couple of your photos.
Yes.
So everyone can see them behind us, but I'll
Oh,
motion
good.
up there for you.
Good.
So I just want to talk about that photo. Can you tell me a little bit about why it's important?
This is an important picture. This is Ron is working on his diary entry. He was writing diaries every day. So this is Occupy Windsor. This is what, 2011. 2/3 of the way through the occupation. So when Ron first showed up, he was a homeless individual. He was living under a bridge. He was drinking quite a bit and probably using some kind of narcotic of some sort. And over time, he slowed down his drinking. He started writing down some entries in the diaries. Over time, actually, after this, he ended up going into a drug rehabilitation program, and he did a fine job. But what was important for me was that Occupy was a thing of politics, but what we attracted, or what they attracted, was a lot of homeless people, and that's where it really became pretty obvious to me that marginalized individuals are very present here in our city. So, and I think that was pretty obvious to the organizers and the people who participated at Occupy, that we had to do some things, or they had to do some things, so a lot of effort went into there. I think it's just important that it was beyond a political movement and dealing with the real issues in our city at that time.
Thank you. So I want to touch on this photo here. It's one that is highly associated with you. Did you think that this was going to be the cover?
I thought this picture would be the cover. I talked to a few other people. They thought it would be the cover, but it's not the cover. The one thing I'd like to add about this picture is this is a photograph of a nurse in a blue hallway at the old Howard Hospital in Zimbabwe. It was shot in 2006. I originally went to this hospital in 2001. I shot it all in black and white. It was very gritty. It produced a series of work that was very, very well received. The exhibition traveled to 3 different countries, 2 different continents. I've been told by the doctor who I was working closely with that it probably raised directly and indirectly, that first series in 2001 probably raised $100,000, and over time inspired scores of healthcare professionals to go volunteer at the Hockey Hall of Fame. the Howard Hospital, Hockey Howard, Hockey Howard. And, but from a professional point of view, or from an artistic point of view, when I was there in 2001, I saw the colors. And it was the colors that inspired me to go back and to basically redo the whole thing and do it in color. And I'm so glad that I went by, and this was the shot I went back to get, and I'm glad I did.
All right, so now let's talk about one of Marty's favorites. So can you tell us a little bit about these kids in this classroom?
So this is a photo taken up in Gulu, which is in northern Uganda. It was taken in 2004. At the time, I would call it a low-level civil conflict, sort of a low-level war zone. The Lord's Resistance Army was active at that time, and their modus operandi was to gather young people. Boys would be soldiers, and the girls would become concubines and make more soldiers. So, in an effort to try to protect the children from being picked up, they would walk through the evening and go to these centralized areas. So in Gulu town, in particular, kids would walk to the center of Gulu town, which is a fairly large city actually, and they would congregate in a market area, and they would hopefully get some protection. When I went there, it used to be, the story that I missed, I always miss a good story, was there was upwards of 15,000, 20,000 kids a night walking into this downtown Gulu. When I got there were a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 or so. It wasn't really photogenic. For me, it wasn't enough to be a photo. But I got told about these group of people. They're at a college, St. Joseph's College, just outside of town. So that's where I ended up going, and that was a late night. They walked, very young kids. What they got was a meal, and they were very tired, so they ended up sitting there. But yeah, shortly thereafter, I think there were some initiatives to broker a peace deal. That actually, one of the reasons I was up there was my intelligence gathering, it led me to believe that there would be a peace signing, and I just happened to be going up, and I was looking forward to taking a picture, and that would have a caption of like this guerrilla, this leader of a war, and a minister of something, and they would be signing a document. It would be sort of like the way I like to see things, peace breaks out in Uganda. But I did get that shot.
All right, and now let's talk about one of my favorites. So this is an image of one of the migrant workers. Would you mind talking about it a little bit?
So this is at the MacLellan Beauty Salon in downtown Leamington. The owner that you can see doing the hair is Gilles Mara. It is a very, very narrow building, maybe 10 feet across, 12 feet across. And I missed it so many times. And when I finally got there, I looked in, I thought it was a barber shop. I seen all these Mexicans going in, and I thought, I gotta get the shot. I had worked on a book, and this is a book that I have done. It was a multimedia project with Colette Brothers, who was a visual artist in the Windsor area. And one of the things that I was working on was, what we were working on was after work. We know what migrant workers do at work. What do they do after work? So we know they play soccer or things like that, go to church. But I wanted to spend a lot of time figuring out what else would these people do. So haircuts is one of them. And what was really interesting is, generally speaking, some Mexicans would come in, and the Mexican men would have their hair done fairly traditionally. And then the Jamaican guys would come in, and Gilles Mara really liked working with razor edges, and these guys loved it. So I got some interesting pictures from different cultures of approach to hairstyling, and just she was so nice to let me just spend time. The guys were nice to let me take pictures, so I'm glad I did that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me. It has been so great working with you over the past year. It's been such a great learning experience for us, and I think for you as well, to bring all of us together.
Can I just say, this is the unscripted part.
Yeah.
Unscripted
I
part.
ask you this question.
Oh.
Can't let this go.
Oh.
When the students, when I gave this book to the students, one of the things that they said to me was, we're expecting poetry or fiction, something. This is an English literature class. It's not photography. We don't know anything about pictures. We don't know anything about photography. And I told them that I thought that they should regard these pictures as poems, because the same tools go into it. You know, you look for metaphors, you look for symbolism, and you look for all of these things. And so the question I have for you as a photographer, what was it like translating that for the students?
It was really easy. It was no problem. It was nothing very. It was hard work. The students were definitely like, "Wow, these are photos." They ended up with 194. They keep thinking that 194 pictures is a lot. It's not a lot of pictures.
It is when you have to get it down to 60.
Do you know how many pictures I went to get to 194? Probably 50,000. Yeah. At least that. But they learned about editing. That's a skill that they're going to be able to use in life. And that's working with them was easy. There was no really hard days. I made effort and time to be with them. I thought that was important, and I'm glad I did. I'm really glad I did. You mentioned already, like, this is the last time I'm going to see this group, and for the last 9 months, this group has been kind of my social. The photography is kind of a lonely venture, but they have been my sort of my gang for 9 months, and I will miss you. And you guys have done. You've made me look really good. You've done a professional job. Will show my book to anybody. I have lots of friends who are big names in the photography world, and I will be happy and proud to show that piece of work to those people.